Good morning. Today I am giving the information about the third semester subject, that is the fabric structure, in that unit 3, that is looms. Today's session is third session. In the first earlier sessions you have learned about the definition of the loom, what are the types of the looms, and the parts and the functions of the looms you have understood. Today's session is the third, in that what is a loom? You have learned earlier. Loom is a device used to weave cloth. What are the parts of the loom? That is you understood. Harnesses, heddle, shuttle, reed, warp beam, and the cloth beam. These are the parts of the loom. Then today's session we have to learn about the preparation for weaving. What is a weaving? Weaving is the nothing but the major method of fabric construction. Here, interlacement of the two types of the yarns, that is the warp and the weft yarns, are used for the creation of or the manufacture of the fabric. So, in this, we have how to what are the preparations you need for the weaving. In the weaving operation, the lengthwise yarns which run from the back to the front of the loom form the basic structure of the fabric and are called the warp. So what are the warp yarns? Warp yarns are nothing but the lengthwise yarns that passes from back to the front of the loom, basic structure of the fabric. The lengthwise yarns are known as the warp yarns. The crosswise yarns are filling, also referred as the weft or the woof yarns. So it is also known as the weft. Crosswise yarns, lengthwise yarns are known as the warp. In the same way, crosswise yarns are known as the filling yarn or the weft yarns. The filling yarns undergoes less strain in the weaving process. In preparing them for weaving, it is necessary to spin them to the desired size and give them the amount of twist required for the type of fabric for which they will be used. So, in the filling yarn undergoes less strain in the weaving process because the shuttle go passes from one end to another end, that is interlacement for the weft yarns. Shuttle is used, it takes the abrasion, that is a many movements it passes. So in the preparation, warp yarn undergoes more strain than the weft yarns. So in preparing weaving, necessary to spin them to desired size, in the giving them amount of twist required for the type of the fabric for which they will be used. Yarn intended for the warp must pass through such operations such as spooling, warping, and slashing to prepare them to withstand the strain of the weaving process. So, yarn which is used for the warp yarns must undergo such operations like spooling, warping, and slashing to withstand the strain that undergoes in the weaving process. These operations do not improve the quality of the yarn. So, these operations will not improve the quality, but it has to undergo these steps. In spooling, the yarn is wound on larger spools or cones which are placed in a rack called creel. So, what is the spooling? In spooling process, what is the spooling process? The yarn is wounded on the large spools or the cones. So, after the production of the yarn, lengthwise yarns hanks are spoonded on the spools or the cones which are placed in a rack called creel. That place which is going to be placed and keep the yarns that known as the creel. From this creel, the yarns are wound on a warp beam, which is similar to a U spool. The which yarns are wounded on the warp beam? The creel, from the creel, the yarns are taken and wounded on the warp beam. An uninterpreted length of hundreds of warp yarns results all lying parallel to one another. These yarns are unwound to be put through a slashing or sizing bath. So these yarns are unwounded or to be put through the slashing or sizing bath. The slasher machine covers every yarn with a coating to prevent chafing or breaking during the weaving process. So in the slashing method or the slasher machine, what it does, the it covers with the coatings to prevent the these yarns from the breaking during the weaving process. The sizing used is either starch based or a synthetic depending upon the fiber content of warp yarns and the kind of loom to be used. So sizing may be based on the type of the warp yarns which is used in the loom. So maybe synthetic or the starch based. The sized yarns are then wound on the final warp beam and are ready for the loom. So after the spooling, slashing and the sizing, finally the yarn is wounded on the warp beam which is ready for the loom. These are the processes undergone: warp preparation, winding, that is the winded to the cone or the cheeses, then warping, then the sizing. Here weft preparation, winding the cotton cheese and weaving. Weft is easy, but it warp yarns undergoes many abrasions, so it must have the more strength than the weft yarns. Next, the motions of weaving. What are the motions of weaving? Shedding, picking, beating up or battening, taking up and the letting off. These are the motions of the weaving carried out during the weaving process. What is the shedding? Raising specific warp yarns by means of harness or the heddle frame. Picking, inserting filling yarns to the shed. Beating up or battening, pushing, pull filling yarn firmly in the place by means of reed. Taking up and letting off, winding the pushed fabric on the cloth beam and releasing more of the warp from the warp beam. This is about the motions of the weaving. You have to give the answers for these questions. Mention the motions of weaving, describe preparation for weaving, write the function of shuttle, reed, harness, warp beam and the cloth beam. So you have to mention first the motions of weaving. You have to list out the motions of weaving. Describe the preparation for weaving. You have to describe, that is the how the weaving process, for the weaving process, how you have to prepare, that is the slashing. Warp and undergoes slashing, spooling, slashing and the sizing. This you have to write. Thank you.